Well, you can tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man.
Good evening, Turks and Caicos. Thank you for joining us. And welcome to Manversations. Yeah, you heard it, Manversation. We're here. I know it's going to be interesting. You never heard about this type of show. It's not The View, but it's views from a male perspective. And thank you for joining us. My name is Armando Rigby. I want to introduce to you my colleagues and co-hosts for this evening. To my right, I have Frankie Grant. And to my left, Mr. Kevin Bethel. Gentlemen, evening.
Good evening.
As we get started with our show, I hope to have some lively and provocative conversation this evening, and I know Frankie will never disappoint in that regard. And Kevin, you're the calm head, so we expect you to be the guy to keep the calm even tuned this evening. And we're just gonna get started. We're gonna jump into it, and we're gonna start talking about some current events. Things that are in the newspaper. And one of the things I want to talk about, my producer, the producers didn't tell me to talk about this. But I noticed that we have a new commissioner of police, right? It's all in the paper. We have a new commissioner of police. And I kind of perturbed me, right? Because we just had a commissioner of police from Canada. And I don't know if I was impressed by the results that he was able to achieve in the time that he was here. But now we have a next new guy I think he's from Britain. He was in the Cayman Islands for a little while. What's the problem with our local native police? Why we can't have a local native commissioner of police?
Because he might actually get some work done. When I saw it, I smiled too. And I said, well, people around here saying the commission of inquiry with that case with against Adams has failed. And I said to them, no, they had accomplished their objective. The objective was not to allow a native to advance to that position. Because remember, Adams was deputy commissioner, and he should have been made commissioner. But as long as the entire commission could suspend him, right, then they wouldn't have put him in that position. Mind knowing all the time, but I ain't got no case against this man. But if he's not in the force, then we're not going to even look at his request.
Maybe we can just move someone else.
We just can do what we want to do and bring them in, and that's the whole pieces of it. They accomplished their goals. That was their goals.
I don't know, Kevin.
It's kind of Machiavellian.
That's exactly
it's
Machiavellian.
It's a very convoluted argument, and I see the merits of it. However, you have to be very careful. What are the tenets, the requirements to be a commissioner? All right, and even though we had somebody who was suspended, so was not able to advance to that position, let's pretend that he was not suspended. Did he have all the requirements?
Oh, I can say that. I can say
yeah,
that.
I think anyone here on the islands would
Definitely.
say definite. And because when you even look at Farquhar,
Yes.
and you look at his background before he came here,
Yeah.
he didn't have no great significant feat. He was assistant to something or a part of this or part. He was never in a position of commissioner of police.
So pretty much on par with.
He was, yeah, he's pretty on.
Deputy
Yeah,
was at the time.
Exactly.
No, he wasn't even actually on par with the deputy now, because he didn't understand. And if any police officer out there could tell you, he didn't understand nothing about policing.
On the local level.
On the local level, I don't know his international stuff, but on the local level, yeah, he didn't understand policing. He knew nothing about it.
And for me, that's one of the hardest thing for me. I don't understand why we would have persons on our force, who have been in the islands, know the islands. The Commissioner Adams, in respect of Commissioner Adams, he's been in the force in 1984. I mean, he know the islands. He's from the islands. I don't understand how anyone outside of the islands could trump him when it comes to being qualified for the position of commissioner. And so I don't understand what our objectives are when it comes to the whole bringing in a whole new person to be the commissioner of police.
That's easy. What's the most famous word when it comes to Turks Island? When you hear Turks and Caicos Islander, what do you hear next to it?
I don't know. You tell me.
You hear Turks and Caicos Islander, corruption.
That's the word.
And so, in order to maintain that, remember, right? You got to maintain that saying Turks and Caicos Islanders are corrupt. You got to maintain that to be able to do what you want to do in Turks and Caicos Island. And so, what better way to do that than show them I can't even put a local commissioner.
They ain't even trustworthy to be.
I'm going to bring in somebody. So it gives the impression to the world that these people can't govern themselves. You know what I mean?
It confirms the impression that's already been made by the people who sent somebody to govern us and to manage us.
But you know that's amazing though, you know, because you know even when you talk about the Integrity Commission, you talk about the Commission of Inquiry. The people that called our people corrupt wasn't us. It was somebody who came down and then they decide that we corrupt. And then they say, to quell corruption, we can appoint some new rules and then we can appoint some people to keep the rules, right? And so they decide we corrupt. They decide they can bring the people to police us and to put these laws in place. And then they decide that because they already call us corrupt and they have to bring their people, they have to ensure that this stigma of corruption stick to our people. And so every different week you hear somebody in a high position getting charged with some bogus corruption issue.
In the long run, though, we've seen that their house of cards is slowly falling apart because many of the people who they said was corrupt or had some kind of interesting dealings, they've taken them to court, and these individuals have won their cases. So slowly but surely it's falling apart, right? But even if it does completely fall apart, because they're in charge, how will we get to the point where we won't be corrupt anymore? Because now, since they gave us the label, and they've been acting that way, by appointing a commissioner and bringing over a judge, etc., all right? They're gonna have to then say, all right, we find no fault.
Well, you know, you see what's happening, you know, that's interesting you say that. What's happening is that see one of the guys that's in charge of the Integrity Commission. We found that his spouse,
right,
is being investigated by the Integrity Commission. So you know what's going to happen is it's just like you know leading up to the elections that's coming up in England. You find a lot of those MPs are getting caught up in their own corruption issues and their own corruption talk. And so that's what I think that's what's going to happen. It's gonna even out eventually. These same guys who calling you corrupt, you can find that they get some allegations to answer.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly back to my point. If you go all the way back to home base, right? Many people who sat and judged us and says we are corrupt in the Turks and Caicos, they're having issues themselves.
Yeah.
All right, but still, though, the stigma, the umbrella is still over us that we are corrupt.
Yeah. Well, I those gentlemen, I wish we could stay there. We really got to move on. I wish we could stay there. We got to move on because that's very interesting that you brought up, Kevin. But today, our main focus today, and our topic for the day, we're going to talk about today is what is man? Who is man? What does he do? And so, this is what we're going to talk about right after the break.
Well,
we'll be right back.
Tell everybody. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Go ahead and tell everybody. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.